I believe Christianity to be the biggest conspiracy ever in the history of the world, bigger than QAnon, bigger than the 9/11 conspiracy, bigger than the moon landing conspiracy, bigger than the JFK conspiracy. I mean, bigger than all conspiracies put together. Absolutely, I believe religion, aka evangelical Christianity, is the biggest conspiracy theory of them all. Hi, my name's Timmy Gibson, former fundamental evangelical, tongue talking, Holy Ghost rolling, woo, pastor. Spent 30 years doing that. 48 years I spent as an evangelical Christian. Went to Bible college, did the whole thing. And yeah, youth pastor, spent many years in a youth pastor position, and then pastored my very own church for about 17 years ish. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about conspiracy theories. I think one, I would say conspiracy. I think I may have mentioned this on my Joe Rogan, the video I did where I talked a little bit about Joe Rogan, how I used to watch Joe Rogan and I don't anymore. That's what kind of turned me off with Joe Rogan, is just all the conspiracy theory stuff he was getting into, and I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, man. There Conspiracy theories can be interesting, right? I mean, I'm trying to think of some of them off the top of my head. Do you remember the Michelle Obama is actually a man? That one? Okay. Now, here's what's interesting about conspiracy theories. One, I can't prove that Michelle Obama is a woman, right? I mean, like personally, I'm never probably going to ever meet Michelle Obama, though I would like to. She seems like a great woman. I'd have voted for her for president. But anyway, I'm probably not going to meet her. I'm probably not going to meet, someone that even does know her in a personal way. So can I absolutely, with absolute certainty, say that Michelle Obama is a woman? Yeah, probably right. I mean, I think like if I was gonna have to put money on it, I'm 99.9999999 right. She's a woman. Did we land on the moon? I mean, how can you really know it though, Timmy? How can you really know we landed on the moon? I know some of you atheists are into conspiracy theories. I've had atheists be like, Timmy, you do know the Earth is actually flat, right? Can I prove that we landed on the moon? Personally, like, I guess not personally can I guarantee that it wasn't a studio, it wasn't filmed in a studio and all that. Right? That's where they get you with conspiracy theories. Now, I'm an anti-conspiracy theory person. I just am. I'm just going to confess here. I find conspiracy theory, I find them foolish. I find them destructive. I find them harmful. And I feel like those that get taken in by conspiracy theories, I would label them to be gullible type people, which interestingly enough, right? Christianity to me is a conspiracy theory. You have to be gullible to believe in conspiracy theories. Hence why a lot of Christians are also conspiratorial. I feel like that goes hand in hand, right? They're already gullible and believing in an imaginary friend that walks with them and talks with them and guards them and guides them and answers their silly prayers. Like, right? They're already believing all of that. Of course, the Democratic Party is keeping a bunch of children under the White House for the adrenochrome, right? Clearly, that's true. Now, where they get you, remember the Pizzagate thing where that dude actually believed that conspiracy so much so that he showed up with a freaking, I think it was an AK-47 or something, showed up to the pizza place, Cosmic Pizza or whatever the place, and, rushed in to go and save all the children. Now on one hand, kudos to he wanted to save the children, but there were no children there. There wasn't even a basement there to hold all the children, right? But I've never been to the White House. I mean, have you been to the White House? I'd like to go to the White House. I mean, I've never gone. And nowadays I just don't know if you could. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when you could just sign up and go visit the White House. I don't know when the date was. If you want to, mention that down below. I don't know when they stopped having like open houses at the White House, where you could sign up and then hopefully be selected and see it. Well, now I don't think that's happening. That stopped. I think 9/11 put a stop to that. I think it was sometime around that time. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But when I think about conspiracy theories, I mean, I don't know what's under the White House, right? And I think what happens to people's brains, those that are already susceptible to conspiracy theories, are they're gullible people. I mean, come on, this is why so many people get scammed. Scams are prolific. I mean, I know people personally who've been scammed. They get the emails saying, "Hey, we got your package. We couldn't deliver it. Click this website, da da da," and they get scammed, right? I mean, and there's for every person out there, there's a different scam, and those are also rampant, and it's a full-time business for some people. Like, people own companies, and all 300 employees are literally all scamming people, and they're getting rich because people are gullible. And it's sad. It's sad that people are gullible. So, conspiracy theories, part of the allure is, one, we always want to think we know something that other people don't know. We know the secret things, right? I know what's going on behind closed doors in the White House. I know what's they up to. They up to some nutty stuff. Like, there's something about it that seems like appealing, or it's like, ooh, I know secret information. Now, listen, I'm not talking about conspiracy fact. I'm not talking about things that, you know, does the CIA get involved in and can get into drug trafficking, or that, sometimes there can be police officers that are a little corrupt, like, well, of course, but there's more good people than bad people in my estimation, right? But yeah, of course, you're always going to have a rotten egg. I mean, that's just that, like, just like pastors. Do I think all pastors are corrupt? No, no, I don't. I know some really good, sincere pastors, right? That are honest and above board and all that stuff. Of course. But I mean, you just look at the news and you can see the ones that ain't. Right? You just look at the news. They all over the news. They're lying and stealing, and they're corrupt, and they're doing a bunch of shady stuff. So I'm not talking about that kind of conspiracy theory. Like, people like to just label everything conspiracy theory, when it's like, no, that's just the truth, right? Yeah, of course. Is the government telling us everything? Probably not, right? Are all politicians above board and honest? I mean, probably not, right? There's corruption, right? I mean, of course. And just FYI, the corruption runs in both parties. Just FYI. It's not just the other party. It's the other party that's corrupt. Right? So clearly, people can be corrupt, and no matter where they are in life, whether they're a pastor, a doctor, a police officer, the trash man, the trash person, the the whatever, like, I mean, you name it. Clearly, people can be bad and doing nefarious things, like, duh. But when it comes to believing these super convoluted, complicated conspiracy theories, I mean, QAnon just on its face is insane, right? And the amount of people and the amount of stuff that would need to go on for that to even be remotely true is nutty, right? And it's the same thing with any big conspiracy theory. I heard one recently. Someone was like, the government can control the weather. And I said, yeah, no, they can't. Now, can they seed a cloud and certain things? Well, yeah. I mean, I did a little bit of research on it. And yeah, there are some things that can be done through science, right? But as the government, like, was the Democratic Party literally able to create a hurricane to hit Florida to sidetrack the election so that no. Okay, no. So I think it's like itching ears want to know, you know. So you got to be really careful not to just believe something and just because you heard it. And that's the thing about Christianity, right? There's no evidence to support the Bible God. There's zero evidence for a heaven or hell. There's zero evidence outside of, Matthew 24 says this. Outside of the Bible or any holy book for that matter, that's the only evidence for that particular religion, is that holy book that was written so long ago. And to think that it wasn't shenanigan with on the way to where we see it today. Of course, most holy books, we know it. We've seen it. We have copies that are earlier that show that, oh yeah, that was later added, or that entire book was taken out. So, I get that. I don't look at that as a conspiracy theory. That's just factual stuff that we know. But people, when they buy into a conspiracy theory like Christianity, they don't want to. No, I don't even want to hear about that. That's what's so interesting about like confirmation bias. When someone believes something, if you have credible, like evidential, like information to challenge that position, they don't even want to hear it. They go deaf. They don't want to hear anything that is going to prove them wrong. That's human nature. That's confirmation bias. That's just, we're all that way to a certain extent, right? We're all that way. When we believe something strongly, we only look for the things that continue to support that information, and anything that comes that might challenge what we already think, we tend to, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that because that actually could be true and it might prove me wrong. And that's the way I was as an evangelical Christian for 48 years. I didn't read anything that would go contrary to what I believed. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't watch anything, see anything. I'd just tune that out. And there's also this weird thing when it comes to Christianity. Christianity is, of course, it's fantasy. But the people that believe in this fantasy also live in a real world. And somehow, I did this, somehow you keep these separate. And the reason you keep them separate is they can't be blended together. And when you try, which is what I did, all of a sudden the facts of the world were conflicting with my faith. So, yeah, Christians tend to keep these things separate, right? They won't look at anything archaeologically or archaeological finds that will disprove their belief, right? Like there's zero archaeological evidence for the Exodus, and there's virtually zero evidence for the existence of Moses. Like Moses never existed. That's a made up character, okay? Archaeological things have proved that, okay? So, but in the Christian world, and I remember doing this, and matter of fact, I saw something the other day, something that said, this archaeological discovery proves the Bible. It's like, okay, and so I haven't watched it yet, but I plan on watching it. I saved it in my queue so I can watch it, because I'm like, what are they going to say? I'm really trying to keep an open mind. I still watch debates between a Christian and an atheist to kind of see, what good argument is there, something new that they're going to come up with? And that's just, excuse me, that's just the thing. There is no good argument. Now, well, that's not true. There are some good arguments, but there's no argument that's profound enough that's gonna make me go, oh my goodness, I was wrong. I guess I need to go back to Christianity, right? It's just piled up so high on the other side for me that it would just be nearly impossible for me to believe it. Again, and unless someone had some concrete evidence to make me think different, that's one of the things that I appreciate about atheism. Now that I understand it more, it's evidence based. It's not faith based, right? It's evidence based. I'll follow the evidence. And if the evidence leads to, nope, there's definitely a God, I'll be the first one to come on my show and go, guys, guess what? Guess what I found out? At the end of the rainbow, Jesus was there, right? I mean, to me, I think every atheist, every Christian should say the only thing that could turn me to believe something different would be evidence. I think that's fair, right? I think that's honest. I think that's the way we should be, right? Proof, simple, right? Because really anything that actually is true, it can be discovered. In my opinion, in my little humble opinion, if something is true and it's a fact, it can be discovered. Hence the conspiracy theory issue. It's just hearsay. I read this thing on the internet and it said that we didn't land on the moon and they can tell us how. We did it in a studio with all the stuff. And yeah, I watched some of those videos and yeah, they're pretty compelling in the sense of what you think you're seeing. Like it's compelling to think, I mean, could we fake the landing? I mean, is it possible? Would it be feasible and believable? Like, could we really do that? I mean, I guess, probably not in 1969 when we landed on the moon, which was just a miracle. But yeah, maybe we could now, right? With deep fakes and, all the CGI and all the stuff we have now. Yeah, I guess, I mean, we've already learned that you can think you're talking to Tom Cruise and it looks like Tom Cruise. It sounds like Tom Cruise, but it ain't Tom Cruise, right? So the thing with conspiracy theories, what's so dangerous about them? Well, outside of the fact that it's leading people down a lie, which is like Christianity. Like, why do I think Christianity is so harmful? And not all Christians, I'm not saying that everybody that's a Christian that it's harmful. I don't have a problem with someone that's just like, hey, I believe in God and I try to serve him and be a good person and treat others well. And that's just my personal thing. That I clearly, that's not what I talk about on my channel. I talk about the fundamental, the literalist type, the types that are like, if you don't accept my God, you're going to burn in hell forever. Like those people can go fly a kite. That's nuts. That's the person I used to be. Thank goodness I escaped. I got out. I'm free. Okay, so the part about conspiracy theories that's so harmful, outside of that it's a lie and you're believing something that's not true, and you're arranging your life and making decisions based upon things that aren't true, that can and is dangerous. That is dangerous to be believing something as true when it's not true. Okay. Besides the mental F that it does, it's just, believing a lie is bad enough because when you believe something strong enough, you're going to act in such a way that based upon this belief, just like the Pizzagate guy that went to the cosmic pizza place with the gun, like it'll make you do crazy things. Like if you really fully believe it, it'll make you do crazy things. But a lot of it, not a lot of it, most all of it, it's made up. There's no real evidence for it, right? I mean, listen, there are too many people that have been in the White House over the years, over the, as long as America has been around, as long as the White House has been around, which I don't know when it was built, but as long as that's been around, I don't think you could be hiding children for all that time and draining their blood for the adrenochrome and not somebody blowing the whistle on that, right? Okay. Now, when you tell that to a conspiracy theorist, they're like, "Oh, yes, they can. They hid this, and we found that out. They hid this for years, and we found that MK7, right, this and that, and all this stuff." But you're just getting into the land of there's no evidence for it. There's zero evidence to actually prove that this conspiracy theory is true. The problem is when you believe something so deeply, you almost can see things that aren't even there. You know what I mean? Like, remember the emails that were released? I think it was the emails, not text, where they were saying, pizza was mentioned and this was mentioned, and these are key words that, pizza is code for an underage child, and this is a code for that, and this word of that. And it's so complicated, but it's just made up. But when you believe something so deeply, even if it's not true, you'll remember we're pattern seeking people, right? Mammal. We're pattern seeking people. We look for patterns. We look for things that are saying something when it's not saying anything, right? And that's what happens with conspiracy theories, and that's what happens with Christianity. I did this when I was a Christian. I looked out into the world with these God Christian goggles on. And so everything that I was seeing was God answering prayer, God moving here, God doing this, God doing that, God doing this. How narcissistic is that? Right? I mean, really. So, cuss and discuss down below. Have you ever bought into a conspiracy theory? Have you ever thought something was true? Did you think Michelle Obama was a man? Did you think she was a man? Right? Do you think we landed on the moon? Do you think 9/11 was an inside attack? Do you know what I mean? I'm curious. I'm super curious. I'm sure there's going to be someone watching this video and they're going to have proof about what they think to be true, because you'll go looking for it, and I'm sure there's YouTube channels that are just feeding into the conspiracy theories. And frankly, to me, I look at that as poisonous. And so I don't, again, that's why I quit listening to Joe Rogan. He's just too conspiratorial for me, and says things that just, when you get down to fact checking them, it's like, that ain't true. Jamie missed that one, right? So I think those things are super poisonous, and you got to be really careful and really stick with things that are factual, things that we can know. And clearly there are things we don't know, right? That's just the truth. In fact, the older I get, the more I realize I know way less about the world than I know about the world, right? But you got to go to reputable um, specialists or people that are experts in certain areas to be able to find out and do your research, find out what's good, what's true, what makes sense, to really be able to, cut through the BS, cut through the conspiracy theory nut stories, and to really, like, what is the actual truth? All right, guys. Again, cuss and discuss down below. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Don't forget, I have a a Facebook group that, if you'd like to be a part of it, it's for atheists, agnostics, those going through the deconstruction process. We do allow those that are spiritual, not religious, as long as you're not hardcore Christian and clearly trying to either spy on us or try to get us saved. We'd love to have you in there. It's a great support group. I think we're getting close to 400 people in there at this point. So yeah, it's called Timmy's Deconstruction Community. I think you'd love it. All right. Peace, everybody.